Hot take time!
Gotta go put on a hazmat suit to protect yourselves from this hot takes.
Radioactive hot.
Are radioactive. You gotta use your oven mitts to take them out of the oven. They're ready. Gotta take them out.
We're back to talk about BoJack Season 6 Part 2.
Don't act like you don't know.
Don't act like you don't know. It's what the video description says, so you knew what you were getting into. So, we're gonna start just by talking about the first 3 episodes. So, episodes, I guess, 9, 10, and 11 of the season.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and then we'll have 2 more videos about the rest of the season, because we gotta break it up, because this video is gonna be pretty long.
Yeah, I think
we have shit to say.
I think the last 2 episodes themselves are gonna be like.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to take our time, but we'll try to stay focused on the beginning of the season.
Good luck.
For now. So starting with the season opener, the later half of the season opener, intermediate scene study with Professor BoJack Horseman.
There's no professor in that title sequence.
I know. I was.
We gotta redo it.
Intermediate scene study with BoJack Horseman is the name of the episode.
Nice.
Yeah, I just love how this starts because he's kind of treating his new job as another acting role, and like, you know, acting is about leaving everything behind and becoming something completely new, and kind of saying that over and over again, and like practicing for it. Which is so funny because the show is always like, hey, do you get our themes? Do you get it?
I like that BoJack, it doesn't dumb stuff down for the audience, but at the same time it doesn't make you look super deep into it. Like, you can if you want to.
Yeah, there's definitely things that can be more subtle, but I think what's interesting about kind of the way that it presents these kinds of things is it's never really about, like, I mean, I guess there are kind of overarching things that the show is trying to say, but more so I think it's about showing the individual characters' worldviews and how they differ. Yeah. And kind of just a way of, like, let's see how people deal with life and what things they tell themselves. And this is something that BoJack tells himself over and over again, is that
very situational.
Is that, you know, he can start over, he can become a new person, he can leave everything behind.
Right.
And that's a lot of what he's dealing with in this final season, especially.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. And like how that's like how BoJack, like you said, like that's how he deals with stuff. That's how he understands the world. And even like going into it, you can tell, like, when he's starting to become a professor, you can tell he expects it to be how it is, how he's seen in movies and TV show, like how college classes are. And even before, when he was talking, there's like I think it's in season 5 when he's talking to Hollyhock and she says she's going to college, and he's like, I feel like I would always be good in college. Just
it's kind of interesting because he never went, I guess.
Yeah, he never went. And I think there's an aspect.
Wait, how's he qualified? I guess that's fine. He's an actor.
Oh.
Can you become a professor if you don't have any kind of advanced degree?
In the real world, I doubt it. But I think the college was desperate. Yeah. Actually, wait, thinking about that, because earlier you were like, does BoJack only have one class? And then earlier this season, they were like, they acted like there was only one professor in the entire theater department, and they got canned, so they didn't have anybody to teach any of the classes.
Right, and I mean, like, having the only one faculty member for a department is pretty common at a small school. Yeah. Especially for a smaller, for something like theater. But him only having one class a semester.
There's only 8 theater majors in this school.
Somewhat unrealistic. He'd probably at least have 2.
How did they do a play?
Yeah. Maybe they did. They recruit other people.
They really don't know what competition is like yet, and because there's only like 7 other people in their major.
All the roles. Yeah. Cast and everything.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I love the idea that he's like preparing for this role of a professor and kind of basing it off of the cliches in movies and TV, like practicing his thing and writing his name on the whiteboard and kind of doing all of the really cliche things. And then he's like surprised by the reality of it when his students immediately kind of want to engage and ask questions and are more kind of prepared for the class than he expected. He kind of expects to be like, I'm going to teach them everything. And they're like, oh, we already know things.
Yeah, right, exactly. I also really like, I just like how they do the theater kids in this, because as a theater kid, Like, it's very, like, on point and very accurate.
Yeah, I just think there's so many good jokes in the first part of this season about the theater kids.
It's very funny. Yeah. Especially, like, there's, like, little things where they, like, talk over each other or, like, they always need to get their input in. And I'm like, yep, that's it.
Yeah, I took one theater class and yeah. Yep, that's seems accurate.
Right.
You can tell which kids are actually majoring in theater and which ones are just in there for the fine arts credit or whatever, which was me.
Oh, yeah, in your intro to theater class? Yeah, because I was going to say in BoJack's class.
I didn't say anything.
Like, yeah, I could tell.
I sat quietly.
Oh, yeah, because the professor thought you were, like, a first year, and you were like,
I'm a senior.
Yeah, because he's never seen you before.
Get out of here with that nonsense.
Yeah. I hated that professor anyway.
This is my last semester.
This is last my semester, asshole.
I wish I remembered his name. So-and-so, if you're listening.
It was Professor Turner.
Dox him. Okay, Turner. That's a very generic name. That could be anywhere. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that. One kind of joke that was really funny or had good like payoff was like the two students like that came in to his AA meeting and like pretended to act, but then like the third student had an actual like problem and she showed up and he was like, no, get out of here. This is for people with real problems.
I kind of thought they would go a little bit more into that, but I mean she's at she's in the final scene, so and she seems fine with BoJack. So
I assume that they had some kind of off-screen like talk and that it was fine. Yeah. And I don't really feel the need to see that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that was kind of funny.
Then we get a kind of update on the Mr. Peanut Butter and Pickles and Joey Pogo scheme, and I just think that scene is so funny, like, and then you'll never see each other again, and then they immediately buy a restaurant together. I think they're all so dumb.
They are really
It'll
dumb.
It'll be fine, right?
I like how Pickles is like, I think we should kind of think about this, and Peanut Butter is like, I have somebody on the phone, I can't let him, and she's like, oh yeah, of course, go ahead. And they're all so stupid, but they're also like genuine. Yeah. It's very funny.
They're a very funny trio of characters together.
They are, and it's like, you think it wouldn't necessarily work because Pickles and Peanut Butter are already very identical characters in the sense of like
right, they they have a lot of similarities. Yeah, and like Joey Pogo also.
Yeah,
is
so
very
you
similar.
think like three characters who have very similar characteristics and who are all very bubbly, like comic relief kind of characters, like in one room, like doing like this kind of B plot together. You think it wouldn't be that interesting?
It is, though. I actually kind of like this little, like, couple episode arc here with them.
I do, too.
It's funny.
Yeah, no, I do, too. But, yeah, no. And I like Pickles a lot, actually.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I guess the real headline from this episode is Hollyhock. Like, that's kind of more of the emotional beats because it's, obviously coming off the last episode, I'm immediately like,
right.
What does Hollyhock know? Is she gonna tell?
Does she know things? Let's find out.
Let's find out. That was very good, and I walked right into that. Thank you. Like, what does she know? Does she know things? Let's find out. And Is she gonna tell BoJack? Is she gonna confront him? And what I really liked about how they handled it was that she didn't confront him, not in any kind of dramatic way. They didn't really have a big fight, and I think that's really true to her character.
I think so too.
What we know about her is like she's not the type to be like, I'm gonna kind of make a big scene about this, which I think BoJack is less equipped to deal with.
I think we also like Hollyhock has like had similar issues with BoJack in this sense, like in season 5 with the pills, and she knows confronting BoJack isn't gonna work. He's not gonna talk to her. Yeah. So she knows he's gonna keep it hidden down.
Right. And their relationship is so interesting because he kind of has this idea of what it is. Yeah. That's not really true to how she sees it, and I just really like what she says, later of like, we don't really know each other.
Right, exactly, because they jumped directly into, okay, we're family, you might be my dad, and that immediately delved into, oh, you're actually my brother, but just saying, okay, we're brother and sister doesn't automatically mean you guys have that relationship.
Yeah, and she's like, don't say that like it means something.
Right, exactly.
And I'm like, ooh, ouch.
Exactly.
Because BoJack has always really wanted family without maybe realizing it, but it is like a big part of his arc is how much he wanted a family, and it hurts like
there's
hell.
A big
he gets it, and then he doesn't get it, it leaves. So
yeah, exactly, because a big part of BoJack's character arc is both that he always wanted a family and he always wanted children, but it also coincides with not his guilt but like fear that once he dies, that's the end of the Horseman Sugarman line, and he's never been able to fix that line.
Right, yeah, it's kind of this, like, you know, family curse that's continued.
Exactly.
And he's worried that he'll rub off on a Hollyhock that really comes through in the episode, like, stupid piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you're ruining her, you're corrupting her.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, she's gonna be like you and that thing that, you know, Dr. Champ said of, like, you hate,
you're afraid to connect to
hatred of horses.
Yeah, connect to other horses.
And she reminds you of you.
Right, exactly. No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, this whole, like this whole subplot it wasn't necessarily the way that I expected it, because it didn't have a lot of, like, high drama moments, but I think that works a lot better for these characters, and I just like the kind of smaller ways that Hollyhock shows that she's upset by just kind of, you know, brushing him off and saying things like, oh, like, you shouldn't go to this because there'll be alcohol there. And young girls. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. It's like BoJack doesn't even catch on to that, because in BoJack's mind, because I think there's, like, this issue with BoJack where he definitely views his LA life so separate from the rest of his life. When he leaves LA, you see that with New Mexico, and you see it here, where in his mind, he doesn't even see how Hollyhock could even get to that story. He doesn't see how that can connect to her in any way, because it's two separate lives for him. Oh yeah, it really is, and that ties into the beginning of the episode, like, you know, leaving everything behind and becoming something completely new. He doesn't want to be dragged down and haunted by his past. Right, exactly. But you don't get to make that decision. Right, you don't get to make that decision when there's live people who are still affected by your choices. Yeah. I also really like when it's during when Hollyhock is fighting with BoJack. How, you know, she says, like, I always fight with Tawny, but I still love her, and BoJack's like, well, are we fighting? And she can't even say I love you, like, and it's nicely juxtaposed to in season 5 when she says I love you and BoJack can't say it back. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Also, Hollyhock's in rugby, so she's a lesbian. I'm sorry, I love the rugby thing. I love how Hollyhock's like, okay, I will take out my aggression via rugby. Yeah, I will take out my aggression in this combat sport on my 50-year-old brother. Yeah. I cannot fight him because he is old, and I might break his back. Then, of course, the end of this episode was just, like, such a... Oh my god, I screamed. I know, I did too. The call from Charlotte, which is, like, you know, the thing that was kind of hanging over is, like, she has to come back into this somehow. Yeah. So to see it kind of right away at the beginning of this episode, I was like, oh my god! Yeah, I was totally caught off guard. I think that's because I watched it right when it came, like, early on Friday when it came out, but Jenny was at work, so I kept texting her stuff, and I think at that point I was like, hello, can anyone hear me? I know, I was like, what does this mean? I'm like, I'm scared, I don't get to watch it for, like, 7 more hours. Like, my heart literally dropped at that part, though, but yeah, it's just, yeah. Yeah, so that was a good way to kind of get back into it and pick up some of the threads from the last half of the season. Yeah. Yep. I always, like, am thinking of, like, how they would have framed this if they didn't split it up in 2 parts. Right. I think it is interesting because I think that really impacted kind of the way that this season was, like, structured. If it had all been one release, things would have been pretty different. If it had been one release, I don't think they would have put so much pressure on... Or emphasis on Gina and Kelsey. Is that what you were going to say? I was actually going to say so much emphasis on how much Hollyhock knows. And, like, like, I don't, because I really like that scene. Right, on kind of, well, they wouldn't have had, like, a cliffhanger like that. Yeah, exactly, for sure. Exactly. I mean, it was great, I loved it, but, you know, like, you know, rewatching it doesn't have the same kind of, like, impact of, obviously, like, I don't get to watch the rest of it right away. Right, exactly. And it was kind of interesting, like, there were some things that you thought were maybe going to be a bigger deal in this season. Yeah. Like with Gina and Kelsey. That kind of, I mean, not to say they didn't, like, follow through on it. We'll talk about it at the end, I guess, but, or, like, later on, but it is kind of interesting the way that this season was, you know, structured because of that decision to split it into 2 releases. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the next episode, Good Damage, is a very Diane-centric episode. I really love this episode. Yeah, I do too. And I feel like Diane often gets the, like, second episode of seasons. She really does. It happened a few times. Yeah. No, and it definitely happened for the first part of this season. Yeah, first part of the season, sort of, but season 5 was, like, The Dog Days Are Over was the second
episode. Yeah, so this is like the third kind of season in a row where the second episode are very like, let's see what Diane's up to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really, really like this one.
And as far as like Diane episodes go, I like Diane as a character, but I've never like really connected with her or related to her on a super personal level. So I really like her episodes, but never into like a personal extent. But this episode I really, really liked.
Yeah.
Like as far as Diane episodes go.
The beginning is very funny, just the little montage, like antidepressant style Diane.
I like that too.
She doesn't get as upset about the little things anymore.
Yeah, which is like, very nice.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna...
Yeah, we're all dying. Whatever.
Right. Well, it's not even like that kind of... It's just like a very like exactly like, what are you gonna do? Like, she kind of realizes like she's not worried as like what she's gonna put into the world, like in that sense, but she's still worried about it with her book, which I think they do in a really
yeah.
So I really was caught off guard when I love when they do this, when they change the animation style.
Yes,
I love it so much. And like with this part with Diane trying to write, and like she keeps hearing like, and you can see her train of thoughts, and she keeps hearing like Peanut Butter and BoJack and Todd and PC and her dad and everybody.
It's so good. I just love this whole thing where she's like going through her life and kind of like digging up all of these painful experiences like on purpose.
Yeah.
Which is probably not a good thing for her to be doing.
Yeah.
But she's like, I have to do this for my art. I have to like dig in and think about all the bad things that have happened to me. And she's like, She's fetishizing her own sadness.
Right, she's fetishizing her own sadness.
I do not fetishize my own sadness.
Right.
And, you know, trying to commodify, like, her own life into this neat little packaged narrative form for, like, other people's consumption, which is another similarity between Diane and BoJack, like, that they both had this idea that they need to kind of structure their lives into narratives.
Exactly.
And that's sort of how they process their lives, because they've both been so impacted by, like, media and, you know, fiction, is that they're like, if I can't look at my life through this lens, then it doesn't mean anything.
Right. And I think, like, Diane's gotten so used to, because her previous publications have both been about other people's trauma and writing about it with Secretariat and BoJack.
Shit, you're right. And I haven't given it enough thought about Diane writing the biography of Secretariat. And
I know.
I just need to sit. Okay, I'm good. All right.
Okay.
Just after you guys know what I'm talking about, after the final couple episodes, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
That hits different now.
It does. It does.
Oh.
And that's the thing, is I think part of her is frustrated, like, why can I write for other people's trauma, but I can't write my own?
Yeah.
And
I really like that. Also, just a funny joke is the store called Trauma.
Yeah.
Like, we need to take a look at trauma.
We need to take a look at trauma.
That just is so funny to me.
I like that a lot.
And I really like the storyline of her getting inspired by this girl she sees at the store named Ivy. And she's kind of like, you know, she's kind of the girl that Diane wishes she could be. And there's like this part of herself that she recognizes in her and kind of projects her own experiences onto. And I really like this as kind of her like evolution as like a creator, is that she's now like trying to kind of fight her own, like, you know, pretension.
Yeah, no, like,
pretentiousness.
To like other genres.
And like, let's just do something fun, like, you know, but she doesn't really want, like, she can't let herself do that because she's like, I need to be serious.
Right. Well, and I think, like, that's what's, like, really works with Diane and her character is, like, when she finds this, like, detective story that she can write, she does, like, sprinkle in her trauma here and there, or, like, representation for herself. Like, there's the one line where she drops that Ivy comes from South California, she needed to get out and move to Chicago, that she's Vietnamese American, like, and it's like, and that works because when Diane, like, says in the scene with Guy, she can't get the timeline correct, she can't remember what happened when, and it's all kind of blurry, but like when you insert that into a fictional story wherever you want to, it doesn't really matter.
You can like take the pieces of yourself and kind of play with them, and it makes it a little bit easier to like look at it.
It makes it easier to process and look at it too.
Yeah, so I love that. Also, like, Guy is great.
Guy is really good in this episode.
And the come on Eileen joke is so funny and cute.
It's so cute. I love Guy.
He's a good guy.
I think Guy is really such a good character, especially, like, as a boyfriend character for Diane, who's, like, because I keep, like, like situating it between Mr. Peanut Butter, because if Mr. Peanut Butter was here when Diane is getting on antidepressants and still he's very much like, what do you need me to do right now to make you happy right now?
Right. Yeah, he wouldn't let her like be sad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Guy lets her be sad for a little bit and knows like sometimes that's just how the process is. And
whereas BoJack is kind of the other extreme, where he would just let her wallow forever.
Exactly. Guy is the perfect in between, where he lets her be sad when she needs to be and doesn't immediately force her to be happy when she can't at a moment. He lets her work through the medication, and when I'm gonna jump straight into the kitchen scene.
Yeah, let's do it.
The fucking kitchen scene where she goes off her meds is like the most relatable thing I've ever seen, and it's like you can tell with scenes like that, like specifically how she says, I want to die in like such a strained tone, where it's not in the sense where she's immediately needs to be on a suicide watch, but it's in the sense where like this has been bubbling up and she's like, am I going to be on pills the rest of my life? You can just tell the writers have gone through this.
Yeah.
Like this is peak what they felt
very
too.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, I don't know, I really love that scene all in all, because that's just exactly what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then I just love, like, the final conversation between Princess Carolyn and Diane. It's probably one of my favorite scenes of this season. I just think it's so good what she expresses, like, you know, if I don't write this, you know, memoir, then all the damage I got wasn't good damage. I was miserable for all those years and I got nothing out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so good, like, that kind of idea that, like unless you can like kind of process it in that way and get something out of it, like it's not what was it worth for? And kind of that idea that she or like the narrative that she told herself when she was growing up, which I think is so real, where it's like, like, I'm suffering now, but, like, that'll make me interesting later.
Right. Well, and I think that really parallels...
Reminds me of the scene in Skeleton Twins when Milo is like...
Oh, yeah.
In high school. Like, you know, like, our dad used to tell us that, like, the kids that are popular are peaking in high school, but they're doing fine now, and, like, look at me.
Right, exactly.
Which is, like, some of the rawest shit ever.
Well, and I think, like, this scene really, like with Diane, where she's, like, saying, like, there's kind of this, like, underlying idea where the other Dianes of the world will be able to see this and relate to it, and PC says that with her first draft, but then when she switches to the detective story, PC, like, says this can still help young girls.
Yeah,
and
it can do the same thing.
Right, and I think that parallels nicely with Penny's situation, where at the end of the episode, she's like, maybe I should tell my story because it could help other people. What if this happens to somebody else? Which is also a very realistic situation with people who have been sexually assaulted by people in bigger limelights. So, and I think those, like, kind of two storylines really parallel nicely to each other in that way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I kind of think it's interesting, like, I'm gonna draw a comparison to the actual show BoJack, because it's this very kind of colorful, vivid, funny world that can kind of get into things that are really real and raw and, like, gritty because of the kind of way that it approaches it. And, like, Diane sort of has that opportunity to do it through something a little less, like, serious.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, she can tell stories that are real, and kind of relating to a later episode in the season when she's talking to Guy's son. Yeah. Sonny. So fucking funny.
Who he had with his ex-wife, Lady.
We love a family. And I just remember this moment when he's read her book and like he points at something like, is that real? Like, did that happen? And stuff. Like, the kind of way you can pick out things that feel so emotionally like resonant. And I just think I just feel like that's probably, like, the writers. You can feel a lot of the writers or whoever wrote this episode, or kind of, if it was a combination of people, like, just how true this is.
I think there's, like, a line in this episode too where I can't remember what it is exactly, but Diane kind of drops a little line like what are we saying about this situation or something, and we already mentioned Bill Hader once. Let's go ahead and mark 2 for 2.
If you're drinking at home, that's
your second Bill Hader mentioned shot. But it made me think of the line in Barry with Sally's really good monologue when she's like, when she's thinking of doing her play about her own abuse, and she's like, do I do this? If I do, but then do I become the spokesperson, and what happens because I don't want to be the spokesperson?
Right, like, and it's just my story.
Right, exactly. And I think there's always that issue, and that's, again, I kind of see shining through with the writers, like, when you write real stuff about sexual assault, about depression, and about substance abuse, it's like, what are you saying about this, and how are you becoming the spokesperson?
It becomes this kind of larger cultural thing rather than, like, I'm just telling a story. So I think, like, making it feel really personal and grounded, but then also having multiple examples in the same thing, which I think is something that this show does really well. Like, they have multiple characters with depression, multiple characters with substance abuse issues, multiple characters who have been abused or assaulted. So you can see there's all these different ways of, like, dealing with it. So it doesn't really feel like they're saying, like, one thing. It feels it's more like just a representation of life and experiences. And
no one character has the same exact, like say Diane's abuse from her parents were not the same as BoJack's abuse from his parents. And so on and so forth. It's very different things. But I agree, and that's, like, such a good example of it.
I guess we kind of talked about the Charlotte and Penny thing a little bit already, but I really liked, seeing them again. And kind of seeing the ways that they deal with it too, and I think it feels so kind of complex and real, like when Penny kind of says, like, that she just has these complicated feelings about it, and she says that thing, like, that's not the only reason why, like, I kept the picture, and that she's just still kind of confused about
I agree.
what happened, and it's like, ooh,
and it's like, it's a process, and it, like, works through it, and, like, I think it's very realistic that as her mother, Charlotte is just like, we should step away from this, and it's like, it's fine because you're finally getting better, and because she doesn't want to see her daughter hurt, she doesn't want to see her in pain.
And she knows, like, what would happen, that, like, their lives would get torn apart.
Right, exactly.
Like, they would be questioned about, like, well, why did you let this man live at your house? Why did you let her take, like, why did you let him take your daughter to prom?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, and, like, kind of the mistakes that they made, and then,
and I see, like, Charlotte not wanting to become part of the narrative, but I also see, like, Penny's viewpoint of, like, but I don't want this to just fester and just be this bad thing we don't talk about. I
think that was a really good representation.
I think so too.
Of that struggle. Any other thoughts on that?
The marshmallow plotline was stupid.
Was that in this episode? Or was it in...
because PC is like...
Oh, yeah.
Because, we didn't talk about...
Or was it the episode before? I don't know. It was one of these.
Oh, shit. I can't remember.
I don't know. Todd is around.
With Stan, the
He's
dog.
Fine. Oh, yeah. Well, there's other things that happen in BoJack episodes. We all know that.
Yeah, I hope people are like, oh, good. I can't wait to those two podcasts about the series finale of BoJack, so I don't have to watch it. And they just listen to this instead of actually watching it.
They're like, wait, I didn't get a full summary.
Yeah, I didn't get a full summary. Bill Hader voice. They know this shit. That's number 3 for Bill Hader. If you're counting at home.
If you're talking home, you're half an hour in. Okay, so episode 11, sunk costs and all that. This is such a good episode.
Yeah,
that's all we're saying now. This season's really strong.
This season is strong. So I really like this Oh, I thought you said I hate Todd in this episode.
No, I love Todd. Okay, this is my first bullet point for this episode is I love Todd in this episode.
Yeah.
He's so raw.
Yeah,
I love Todd when he's mean.
Yeah, I was...
It's a good look for him.
No, the thing is, too, and I think I was talking about this before, was, like, Todd is, like... I love Todd, like, a characteristic Todd is he's actually very petty. Like, he holds a grudge like no other, and he's done it to BoJack, which is understandable, but he's also done it to Mr. Peanut Butter a couple of times, which is very funny.
It's true. It's funny. Like, he's just like, no, I'm mad at you.
Yeah. And it's like, you can just see, and he will make, like, these biting remarks sometimes that are just like, Jesus,
no, it's so
Todd.
Good. Like, when he gets you. Yeah. Like, and one thing that was just so funny was when he was like, oh no, like, I was trying to do a compliment sandwich thing, and I started with the good thing, and then he passed out. So what I learned is that you always need to start with the bad news first, because you'll never know how long you have with someone. Like, that's so funny. And then BoJack wakes up, and he's like, he's immediately like, BoJack, your place sucked!
Yeah! BoJack waking up from, like, a panic attack, and he's like, BoJack, your place sucked!
And then he's talking to Ruthie later, and he's like, Aw, is BoJack super sketchy?
Yes, he is.
So yeah, Todd was just very funny in this episode,
Yeah.
and then kind of questioning like, oh, like I'm a new person now, and BoJack says that, and he's like, are you? And,
Yeah.
like, let me know when new BoJack's back.
Right, I really like that part where BoJack is, like, kind of starting to do this little ploy or, like, scheme that he usually, like, corrupts to, and, like, Todd especially has always been part of those schemes or, like, been the first person to view them.
Yeah.
Or somehow dragged into them.
Yeah, like, of these three, he's the only one that's kind of, like, done with BoJack.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Diana and Princess Carolyn are still in it, but he's just like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, I'm just here for Ruthie.
Yeah, honestly.
I'm on nanny duty.
Well, and then Todd is, like, it's like he, in recent, like, seasons, he's been like, you know, I don't know if I'm ready to be friends yet, but we can be more than
not friends.
More than not friends. So he's, like, getting on that track, but he's very clear with BoJack, like, you are slipping up again. I don't care. I'm taking Ruthie.
Right.
I'm not in this, like he said.
Yeah.
And it's, like, that kind of dwindles into Diane later in this episode, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the kind of way, the way that BoJack's, like the place that he's in mentally and how it kind of changes throughout this episode is so interesting. Like, his, you know, defensiveness, his anger, like, the self-justifying thing that he does when he's like, oh, I'm a different person now, like, they can't get me on old stuff, or, like, they can't combo me, kind of, like, all the... Yeah. Like, his just outrage at what's happening.
I'm wondering if they're going through the 7 stages of grief with BoJack in this episode, now that you say that.
I don't know if it's that.
I don't think it's
specific.
that specific.
Yeah, but it is, like, such a... you know, such an obvious commentary on kind of this, like, you know, take down, like, Me Too type of thing of, like, the way that these stories are written is it usually is something that happened in the past, although this really isn't all that long ago. This was, what, like, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think
so it's like, dude, that's not that long ago.
Right.
And kind of, you know, relating these incidents together of, like, if you put a bunch of small things together, like, it looks bad. And
right, exactly.
Does he say something in this episode, like, well, if you took a list of like, every... you know, bad thing that everyone did, and it would look bad. Does he say something like that?
He says something about, like, I bet these reporters aren't so good either.
Oh, yeah, and
that's what he says. Yeah, and
we can probably dig up dirt on them. So it's just, it's a really good kind of portrayal of, like, how he feels, like, so cornered, and he's kind of trying to fight his way out of it.
Yeah. Well, and it's, like, and I think that's kind of...
It's ugly. Yeah. It's, you know, it's not a good look.
No, it's not. Not a good look on you, Boj.
But it's understandable.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is I think that's what it's trying to say, like, especially in, like, the next episode, where it's, like, they specifically point out, there is a pattern here. And it's, like, stuff we don't even think about. Like, you groom young women consistently, and you don't even realize it. And even though you don't realize it, you're still doing it.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's so good.
But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that in our next video.
I love BoJack's list of sins.
Yeah, just the whiteboard with all his sins is so funny. And when Todd grabs a marker and starts writing, and Diane starts writing things. Also, like, the, like, Keys, what did it say? Keenen Thompson's Kia. Yeah. And then Fob's Elon Musk's Tesla is such a good joke.
That is a very funny joke.
So, like, there's some funny things on there, too, and, and just obviously a lot of things when you're like, oh yeah, looking back, that's a lot of shit.
What I love is, like, it's very, like, small ones, like, the one where it's, like, Dakota Fanning's bounce house, like, referencing back to best thing that never happened, or
best thing that ever happened.
And then there's, like, another one that was, like, well, obviously the Navy SEAL muffin one.
Yeah, there's just a couple small references.
Oh, the sneeze on Marissa Tomei is a reference all the way back to season 1.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while.
Yeah. So I really liked that. I thought that was cute. I thought that was funny.
One of the most impactful moments of this episode is that shot when he's, like, talking to his students.
Oh, yeah.
And Diane and Princess Carolyn are listening to him and just kind of reacting, and, like, they're so fond but sad, and it's, like, it's hard to, like, see him like this and, like, know him like they do. Yeah. And it's, like, they're kind of warring with these two ideas they have of who he really is, but he can be so nice, but he's done all these bad things, and it's like, oh, it's such a good shot.
It really is.
And I feel like this season I was really noticing how good they are at facial expressions.
They really are, and that's
amazing.
Like something I love about this show, because I feel like with animation specifically, especially adult animation, they very rarely go all the way for Like, especially stuff like facial expressions. And that's why I love BoJack so much, because if you look at, like, fucking Family Guy and stuff, they're just standing still a lot of the time.
Yeah, there's always something going on in BoJack.
Yeah, it's like BoJack kind of does that some of the times, but especially this season, like you said, there's a lot going on with facial expressions, a lot.
Yeah, which is really impressive. Like, yeah, and I read in the art book that, like, most animated shows have sort of a limited number of, like, mouth shapes for characters, because the talking is usually kind of simple, but in BoJack, because there's so much talking, they have, like, really complete, like, mouth shapes.
Oh, nice.
For all of the sounds, so that the talking looks, like, really realistic.
You know, I have noticed that, actually, and that's even harder, because none of the, like, I mean, the
humans are the same, but they have all these different animals. Yeah, so they have put, like, so much work into that, and it really pays off.
I feel like just to go on the art for a second, I feel like at some point, I think it was like in season 4 or 5, they started doing more of this clip of where BoJack lifts his head up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm they started doing that a lot, where they're like, we found a new angle for BoJack.
You're right, yeah. Or, like, there's just so many angles in him that are really funny, like, whenever he turns straight out of the camera, like, I don't know, I just, like, tense up. I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
I love how they're like, I think it's like in
like underneath him when
he like
or it's like Diane, whenever they show like underneath her and her like jawline.
Oh yeah,
that weirds me out too. I don't know why.
I think that's like in the art book or early on they were like BoJack looks better when he's like not facing towards the camera, and they're like, so for the opening, he's just gonna look face towards the camera.
Yeah, we're gonna make you super uncomfortable. He's gonna look bad. Yeah,
he's gonna look bad.
Yeah, the art book is so good, and I when did they put that out? What I'm saying is I want another one.
Season 4.
Okay, they should put out another one.
They should. I think you're right. You're right. They should do another one
because I really love that art book, and it has so many good behind the scenes.
Yeah,
things. Like it has scripts. It has like it's a really good art book. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they put out. Give me more content.
Just give it. Yeah, there's not a lot of BoJack merch in general, honestly.
Take my money.
Take my money. I want a BoJack plushie that I can use as a voodoo doll whenever he does something bad.
Just stab him like, no, BoJack, don't do that.
Every time BoJack does a sin.
We'll kind of okay. So then, sort of at the end of the episode, it's so crushing, like the reporter's call, and he's kind of decided that he wants to tell the truth, or he's considering it, but like he just lies and denies everything, and it's just like, oh.
Right, exactly. And it's like, it's another moment where you're like hoping BoJack does the right thing, and it's like at the same time, it's like, is this the right thing?
Right. It's like it's a really complicated.
So like, and if a reporter did call and like is like, what are your response to these allegations? Even if he said yes, that's all true, would that even make it better? I
mean, I guess that's the question. And like I really like, Princess Carolyn in this episode, because she's just trying to produce her way out of this, and like
she really is,
figure out the way that.
I like Princess Carolyn in this episode because that part of it is like, it's like she's trying to produce her way out of it, and it feels like a very cynical, like,
But that's what's great about her, is that she does have this streak of cynicism.
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, it is personal, because I feel like Princess Carolyn comes into the school and sees that BoJack's trying to make a fresh start, and she's trying to kind of protect that for him.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I mean, what she says to him is such, like, oh my god, when we rewatch this part made me cry, when she's like, I'm still here, BoJack, I've loved you for 25 years, and I never loved anyone better. That kind of love you only get when you're young and stupid. Just like, oh. And then when he says, is it possible that you letting me go is the happy ending? And, like, in light of the finale of this, of the series, oof.
And that also shows, like, how much BoJack has grown.
Yeah, because he would have never said that.
Yeah, he would never, he very, like, even, like, comparing this to best thing that ever happened, like, in that episode, he's literally firing PC and letting her go. Like,
but it was,
in
like,
a literal
for
sense,
his own benefit.
But it's for his own benefit. Yeah. And at this point, it's like he's trying to push PC away so she can grow. And it's not to his own benefit. And it's just... And he admits how much... There's been multiple times where he admits that he needs Princess Carolyn in his life. Same with Diane.
Yeah. But he's not like, I'm not going to trap you in this kind of thing.
Right,
so.
Exactly.
Oh, and kind of backtracking for a second, when he when he tells them what happened with like Sarah Lynn, and he says like, I covered my tracks.
Yeah.
And like Diane's like, how did you cover your tracks? And we don't get an answer right away.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't even really catch that on my first watch through the season. But then obviously knowing what's coming, I'm like, oh my god.
So I really love how they trickled out this kind of Sarah Lynn, because they have the reporters going after it, and we know the story, and we think we know the story. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And like even in this part where he's like, he says, he left and came back, and you can like catch on like, yeah, that's what happened, because we kind of know that, like, because he like, you know, they say like, you're the one who found her, and that's kind of hinted throughout the series. Get these but it's not
ideas. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, next one.
The next episode.
But even then, we still don't have, like, even at this point when they say that's really bad, BoJack, that you, like, left and then said you found her.
Well, and that you were with her and that you gave her the drugs.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah, which were things that we
knew already.
But they didn't know.
Yeah.
And then, that already seems, bad enough before we know kind of the fuller extent of what happened.
Yeah.
So then kind of going into some of the other little subplots in this episode. Well, one kind of recurring joke is about the theater kids in the hallway. It was so funny. I love that we never saw them. We just got these kind of ideas of what they were doing by like, hey, they didn't even buy alcohol. And like, they're all making out here.
They're making out out here. Go back to your dorm.
You have rooms.
Which is very funny.
This is the funniest joke.
I also like the idea of a bunch of theater kids throwing a cast party for something that wasn't even a play. It was an assignment for their acting class. And it was just, right? It was just like small scenes. I know. We are, and it's very funny, and I love it. I love like seeing, going back to Barry, that also makes fun of theater kids, and it's like you could tell like everyone is like, we are theater kids, we can do this.
Yeah, it's okay if we say it.
Yeah, it's very funny. I love it.
We are theater kids.
Yeah.
I think that the reporter characters in this season, the Hollywood reporters, are a thinly veiled ruse just for the BoJack writers to flex their wordplay skills.
I think so
They're
too.
like, it's the last season, we are going all out, and no one can stop us. And I love that, because like, I mean, I'm just really so aware of just the script and how tight it is, and how like every single line is like doing something.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
It is really funny.
Yeah, I just am an unapologetic fan of the reporter characters, even though I know some people didn't like them.
So, I didn't like the reporter characters at first, but when they kind of threw in like this like like idea of sexual tension and this like flirting,
they're kind of flirting in this
and
episode.
I was like, oh, I kind of like this. This is cute.
Yeah, I thought it was cute.
I like this pining.
I thought it was cute, and I just think it's so absurd and funny, like when she's talking on the old-timey telephone at the bar.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's very funny.
It's very funny.
I have like a newfound love for the reporters. I want my where's my Max Page Fix It AU?
I know.
I was sad that they didn't get together.
So sad.
I thought they did. Yeah, they made me like really care for these characters in the span of like one episode.
They're really good at doing that in the show.
Yeah, they did.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just like the small plates and lazy Susans and my face on the menu jokes are so funny, and how they kind of use it for a metaphor like later on when Pickles is talking, and also like the lazy Susans are just a great visual gag, and it kind of goes with what we were saying about how there's always something going on in the shot, and it could make just a conversation so dynamic, because they're like swirling around the plate and moving things around, and he like puts his elbow on it and falls.
Right, there's nothing
there's always something going on.
That scene specifically when the reporters are talking to Mr. Peanut Butter with the lazy Susan, that scene specifically shows how there's never a time in BoJack where characters are standing around just talking.
Yeah.
There's something else
like
going on.
Always something going on in the background.
And even if they are, and if they're just doing small gestures, like with their hands, there's like other things in the background that's going on, like gags or things that you can pick up on.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, and especially it's like, this is something you can do with animation. You guys can do this.
You can
Family Guy.
Do you care about Family Guy? Or are you just
I think Family Guy has become what people think should be adult. It's become the flagship thing for adult animation, when we can go way beyond it, and we can discuss actual themes adults can do in animation format.
I don't know what people think of, but I do think that BoJack might have conquered it. They've really shaken up the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, BoJack's definitely shaken up the game of what themes we can talk about in adult animation.
Right, and just kind of like
it doesn't have to be a joke. Like, we can actually talk about mental health. We can talk about like sexual harassment as like not as a joke. Yeah. And it's like stuff we can do in animation. It doesn't have to
be like raunchy, like dumb.
Right, and that's the thing.
Stuff.
That's like you can talk about this stuff in like animation that's like aimed for kids, but you kind of have to underline it so it can be consumed by children. But with adult animation, we're just gonna straight up say it. He has an alcohol addiction. He has substance abuse problems. He has depression. We're gonna like say it.
Good.
Which is good. It's nice. Good. Anyway,
back to the pickles and Mr. Peanut Butter and Joey Pogo subplot.
I want to see. I want edit where it's like like in Batman where it's like but it's like there are three faces. It's like can you work on that? Can you pitch that in?
I maybe. We'll see. We'll see if I create that.
Okay.
I think it's really funny how Pickles like describes their characteristics, but in like a negative way for Joey and a positive way for Mr. Peanut Butter. But they're the exact same traits.
Yeah.
And I just like how this storyline wraps up that she becomes like the social media director for Joey, which is a really good role for her to have. And she gets to have a little bit more of her youth and like independence and stuff. And like when she leaves, like Mr. Peanut Butter knows it's over and he's sad, but he like lets her go. And it's a good moment for him. I mean, he didn't want to marry her anyway, I guess. So
well, yeah, and that's the thing that kind of connects back to it is like, because Mr. Peanut Butter, like, always gets with these, it's, like, declared that, like, he gets with these women when they're young, and he marries them relatively soon.
Right. He's like, all right, we're doing this.
Right, except for, I think Diane's, like, maybe the only exclusion, because Diane says they were together for 10 years. They got married in season 2.
Wait, was it 1? It was 1.
It was season 1 because the Margot Martindale stuff got introduced that season.
Yeah. It was season 1.
Yeah, so and season 1 takes place in what, 2014?
That's when it came out, so yeah, probably.
Yeah, they're pretty good on like saying in the year.
Yeah.
So like they were there for like 4 years before they got married. So they might have been like the only exception where Mr. Peanut Butter didn't marry them right away.
Yeah, which I think makes sense with like Diane because she wouldn't
Right, exactly. But the point is like he takes young women, forces them into a long committed relationship very young, but Pickles is like the only one that's like, no, I'm young and I kind of want to be young and I kind of want to like experience stuff and not stick down for one guy.
Yeah, and it's nice because like she thinks that it's not the end. Like she's like, yeah, when I come back we'll get married.
Yeah.
But he's like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
He's an old dog.
He's an old dog.
Yeah.
And then of course he spills the beans on BoJack, which
is like, I like this because he doesn't mean to do it intentionally.
Yeah.
He doesn't mean it in spite. And the thing is too, I like when he says, I'm not going to help you with your takedown piece. Like, he knows what this is.
Yeah,
he's nice.
Not totally naive.
He's not completely naive, and he's just nice. And even then, when he says that about BoJack, he says it because he's like, that's just how modest he is.
Yeah, he thinks it's like a positive thing.
He thinks of BoJack in very positive ways.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
I guess the one thing about this scene is we never really saw this happen though, right? Like we never saw BoJack confess it to him. So in that way, in like a small critique is that it's a little bit lazy. Yeah, because there was no setup for it. It just kind of came out of
that would have been
nowhere.
Nice to have, and then that would have been that extra tension where audience knows Peanut Butter knows something.
Yeah.
And then that would have connected back to when BoJack says it to PC and Diane and says, I never told anybody that. The audience would have been like, aha, but you told Peanut Butter.
Yeah. And like, I think I would remember that scene, and I just rewatched the entire series. Yeah, it didn't happen. And I don't think that happened.
No, that never happened.
So like, was a little bit not my favorite way for it to, for that to happen, but whatever. It had to happen, so.
Yeah. So I think,
They get a pass.
They get a pass. There was one critique on the narrative that I had in the entire 6 seasons.
And well, I have a couple more than that.
Oh, really? Let's lay them out. No, kidding. No, I agree.
We discussed them.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, well, we're bringing it in under an hour, which is pretty good for us. Thanks for listening. We'll probably get the next one out next weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah. That's it.
All right. See you guys later.
Dog. See you later. I'm sorry I hit you.
It's okay. I'll probably give you